On Saturday, Syracuse and Jacksonville will be in the Dome at noon. You'll be able to hear that game over on TK, of course, with Tim and Kyle coming up on Saturday. And you'll get to see a guy in the Dome for the first time in a while as we bring in our guest. He is the now ninth-year head coach. Man, it's been a long time here for John Galloway in charge of the Dolphins. John, great to see you. It's been a while, my friend. How you doing? And thanks so much for hopping on.
Doing fantastic. I just spoke with my dad on the drive home, and he was getting ready for another 8 inches of snow. So it sounds like you guys are in the full swing of things, and we're excited to get up there and experience. It looks like a low of 7 degrees on Saturday, so our boys will enjoy the bus ride up to the Carrier Dome. We're looking forward to it.
John, we're in the time of the year where I don't even look at the forecast anymore because what's the point? Yeah, it's cold. Your blood must have thinned out here a little bit, right? In your decade or so down in Florida. I don't know if you're used to this stuff anymore.
I'm not proud to say how soft I've become, but looking forward to getting a dose of it for about 36 hours and then heading back south.
All right, what's this like for you? What do you think this is going to be like for you? You've obviously played a million games, gone to a million games in the Dome in your life. What is this going to be like for you to be in the wrong colors on Saturday?
Yeah, I'll start with, as I have with every, interview that I've had in the past couple of weeks, is this is about our team. And, I have to remind myself and our coaching staff, we talked about the elephant in the room, but some of these guys were 4 when I was playing that last game. That was 14 years ago when I graduated. So, for me, it's about our team and about focusing on that. But, it'd be naive to not acknowledge that it's been a long time since I've been in the Carrier Dome. My emotions will certainly be high, just like it would be if any of our players were going home and playing. If we were playing on Long Island and one of our guys was playing at Stony Brook, it'd be emotional for them as well. You have to make sure your ticket lists are in order, and you have to kind of make sure that the job becomes focused on the 60 minutes at hand. So I'm looking forward to it. It will be weird to walk on the other side of the sidelines, but what an opportunity we have, obviously against the number 2 team in the country, and I know our guys are elated at the opportunity to compete against some of the best.
Is this something you've wanted to do for a while? This is your 9th year here. Is this something that it's been tricky schedule-wise? You like to do every now and again? How did it come up that this game finally came together?
Yeah, I used to badger Coach Simmons and Coach Desko early on. I wanted the opportunity to do it right away. I felt like early on in the evolution, the life cycle of our program, we needed to expose ourselves to the top, the best. Coach Shanowski's been fantastic. We've had Duke on the schedule every year. We've been able to add teams in the Big Ten, the ACC. We have 3 ACC teams in our out-of-conference schedule this year. But, finally just aligned. Gary was able to have a date open. We had 10 teams in our conference in years past. Now we only have 6, so that opened up some dates for us as well. And the iteration of this team was just, was fortunate enough to land a date on the schedule. And anytime you have a team like Syracuse and Duke to open up your out-of-conference, it allows us to not have to make too many inspirational speeches in the preseason. Our guys have been motivated for this chance.
You're not going to have to wake them up for game 1 of the season when you know what you're dealing with in this game. Has Gary badgered you for the return trip yet? I know he's never afraid to schedule a game down in Florida or some nice weather locales.
Yeah, that's my strategy after this weekend, to start to lock in that return date. He did bring his women's team down to Jacksonville a couple years ago before I got here, so I know he's familiar with the area. We had a chance to play Rutgers down here a couple weeks ago in the scrimmage. Duke's obviously coming down here next week, so we are fortunate enough to attract some coaches to want to get down here, and hopefully Gary will take advantage of getting a few days away from that weather and enjoy North Florida. But we're hoping to keep this a thing because it does prepare our guys. Our way of getting into the tournament is via our conference, and to be able to play teams like Duke and Syracuse and Carolina, et cetera, that's only making us better, win, lose, or draw. So we love this stuff. I know our guys do. It's great for recruiting, but it's also a great opportunity on Saturday.
Yeah, you've been so close here the last 3 years to finally punching that ticket to get in the tournament. What do you think it takes here? You obviously know it as a player from the other's perspective. What do you think it's going to take here for your team to kick that door in and make the tournament this year?
Yeah, I hate to use the analogy, but I'm a diehard Buffalo Bills fan. So when I watch what happened over the past 5 years in the playoffs, I can't help but draw some parallels between what we've experienced and what they have. And ultimately, you have to make plays. You have to make plays at the end of the game. I think last year we overachieved. We overcame a lot of adversity, a lot of injury to put ourselves in a position at the end. But in years past, we've gotten onto the doorstep. But we've continued to be the bridesmaid and not the bride, and continue to use that analogy because I think we have to buy into a mentality of kicking the door down. You've heard it from some of the pressers out of the Bills locker room this week. You can't expect that those teams that we're playing at the end of the year are going to lose the game. You have to go win it. So we're really building around that type of momentum. And this early on in the season, I mean, how important is it that we learn how to make some tough plays on Saturday? Because I think that could build into what is down the road for us in May and ultimately giving us a chance to play in the NCAA tournament.
Our guest is John Galloway, the Syracuse legend, the Jacksonville head coach, two-time first-team All-American, two-time national champ up here in the Cuse. And, John, you've been down in Florida for a while now. We know Florida is a growing lacrosse market. Tell me what the area looks like now in the lacrosse world versus what it looked like 9 years ago when you got there.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate that we're the only Division I program in the state. So we're fortunate to be able to put our flag in the ground and say, hey, if you're interested in doing something different and being in the South, we can attract you. But locally, the Northeast Florida community has exploded. And I mean, there's so many people that move here to Ponte Vedra, to St. Johns County. And this area has continued to grow in population. It's grown in terms of knowledge of the lacrosse community. We have really good coaches down here, people that are investing into the youth. And just like you see in Syracuse, when I grew up in Camillus, it's all about what you get at an early age and the type of investment you're getting from the knowledgeable coaches. And I've started to see that over my last 9 years. We had a carnival, a Jacksonville lacrosse carnival this weekend. It was kind of off the cuff. Pat Cornelius, who's on our staff, put it together, and we had like 200 people come out and just learn the game. And momentum like that didn't exist 9 years ago, and we have to continue to build on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting because obviously when you grew up going to West Jenny, like it's not like, hey, John, we got to teach you guys the rules of lacrosse. I mean, you had to learn, but it's like everybody, you're in it. Everyone knows what lacrosse is. How much of it down there at like the youth level is it hey, come play this cool sport versus, all right, this is now a thing and people are into it?
Yeah, I think you have to have exposure. Fortunately for us, again, bringing teams like Duke or hopefully in the future Syracuse, first and foremost, kids want to come and watch those teams play. So now all of a sudden you have a level of interest. But when I drove down my street into my neighborhood this afternoon, and there's a couple guys still out playing baseball or getting ready for football season. So you have to get those kids interested in the sport, continue to get the best athletes over, and then expose them to the highest level. And that's why for us, we take such great pride in providing the best example of what Division I lacrosse can look like. And it can be 15 minutes down the street where you can go watch it and fall in love with the game, just like we did growing up, going to the Carrier Dome. I mean, that was a Saturday tradition, and we're trying to create that same type of tradition here.
All right, Jacksonville lacrosse, your style. What would you say is the style that Syracuse fans will get to see Saturday when they go out to the Dome to watch your team play?
It's funny. I think every iteration of our team is different. I think we're flexible to our personnel. We're not going to be a program that gets the pick of the litter every time. But what we do is identify talent and then create a style of play that fits within the culture and the framework of our organization. And, there are some specific things that are non-negotiables for us. For me, our humility this Saturday is going to be really important to me. How do we handle success? How do we handle failure? I do believe that we can become one of the most respected programs in the country by the way that we act. The second piece of it is a level of physical and mental toughness. I think that that's a controllable. It's something that we preach on a daily basis. And it's something that I think that we've exuded over the past 3 seasons. And really in 2022, when we made that leap, when we beat Duke and we beat Denver and ultimately lost by goal in the conference championship, but we were doing it in a way that was physically and mentally tough on a week-to-week basis. I think we're very consistent in that. And when you talk about identity, I think it's the thing that coaches describe you as after a game. And it might not be a schematic, an X's and O game plan, but it's going to be a feeling, an emotion that you're able to evoke out of your opponent. And I think that's going to be what we're looking for on Saturday. And it starts with our humility and our physical and mental toughness.
I'd say that describes your playing career to a T, so it makes sense that it's the same thing you're looking for as a coach now. Obviously you're locked in on your team down there, John, but we know how tight-knit the lacrosse community is in general. How much do you still get to pay attention to Syracuse lacrosse? Like, obviously you're aware of what goes on in the world, but do you get to sit and watch games, or are you just tied up in Jacksonville lacrosse at this point?
It's funny, obviously I have a lot of friends that will ask me about Syracuse and the roster, what's happening. And really until this year, I wasn't as invested as you would think, just because there's so much about our schedule and our conference and trends going on in the community, lacrosse community, that we want to be up on, but we never cross a ton of paths with Syracuse. But obviously this offseason, diving a little bit deeper, just seeing, the growth, really, obviously offensively, their skill set. I mean, it's a cut above the rest. You would argue it's one of the best in the nation, if not the best. But I think that the amount of organization and toughness that the defense has shown over the last year and a half has been very impressive, and just their growth over time there. And there's going to be, I'm sure, some question marks in the goal for them, but for the most part, you're really bringing back everybody on the close defense. You plug in one or two pieces here, what that second midfield looks like. I mean, gosh, there are guys that are going to be at the end of that bench that we were pining for in recruiting. So you have to kind of be open-minded to what the second midfield line looks like in that third attack position. But I think this is a special group. Obviously, they've done a nice job. It's our job to know the knowns and be prepared to adjust and be flexible with the unknowns, which is usually what a February game looks like.
All right, what do you tell your goalie going into the Dome? And just so you know, I'm sure you do, John, the silver bleachers are no longer there. So, it's a different backdrop than you dealt with your whole career. There's might be able to see the ball better now.
Yeah. It's funny. I always used to say that's a BS excuse. Everyone came in there and said, it's hard to see in here. But it's something that I think the outside world has a perception of. And I think it's our job to address those perceptions early and not pretend like they're not there. But, our job is to give the guys the answers to the test. What if you go in there and you're a little bit awestruck by the banners at the top of the rafters, or the flickering lights after every goal? If we don't have a solution for that, we're going to allow our emotions to get the best of us. So we're trying to give the guys the answers to the test and solutions to, if we go down to 3-0 or if we go up 3-0, what's the conversation look like in our huddle? Does it change, or can we maintain a level of consistent communication throughout the game, regardless of what the scoreboard says? So those are things that we have to talk about, because the Dome does provide that type of aura that I always fought as a player in there. I said, yeah, it's still a game. Every time West Point came in there, they look just fine. So I think for us, it's about making sure that we move on from the oohs and the ahs of the Carrier Dome and get ready and get to work.
All right, last thing for you, John, here. It's kind of crazy, right? The game's February 1st. The season creeps earlier and earlier by the year. What's it like to ramp up every year, starting at the new year to get ready for the year that counts this fast?
Yeah, it's hard. Our guys, we stayed on the COVID schedule. So our guys left before Thanksgiving. They were done with finals before Thanksgiving, and we didn't get them back till January 6th. So that's almost 2 months where you're really wondering, hey, what's the conditioning level? How engaged are they on the lacrosse field? And now you hit the ground running, and 3 weeks later, you're playing against the number 2 team in the country. So again, it's not going to be perfect. I don't think it'll be perfect on either side. It's going to be emotional. There's going to be a lot of excitement. I'm sure those guys have a chip on their shoulder from how their season ended last year. I think you're going to see a great level of effort from the two teams, and it might not be perfect. It might not be pretty. It's certainly not going to be how it looks like in the NMA, but it's going to be an emotional atmosphere and one that I'm sure lacrosse fans are excited to go see.
And lastly for you, John, this is a habit. You're never going to kick it. It's not the Carrier Dome anymore. It's now the JMA Dome. So you're going to have to switch sponsors. But I don't think there's any way a guy like you that went to the Carrier Dome that many times will literally ever be able to kick that going forward.
I'll try. I'm sure the letters are on there. I'll try to take a peek at it, but I think it'll always, I'll know the name at heart. In the back of my mind.
You've earned it. You call it whatever you want, John. You've earned the right over the years. All right, man. Always great to chat. Great to see you. Safe travels this way, and should be a blast when you guys are up here on Saturday. But thanks a lot.
I look forward to it. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
All right, there he is, our guy, John Galloway, one of the greats to ever do it in a Syracuse lacrosse uniform, 2-time national champion, 2-time first-team All-American. Now, in his ninth year, we're all getting old. 9th year as head coach of Jacksonville. Yeah, he said it. This is how time flies. Yeah, some of the kids that are going to be playing in the game on Saturday were 4. The last time John played. It couldn't have been. It was like a week and a half ago. 4? That doesn't sound right. That can't carry the 4. Oh, boy. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, despite the complete accuracy of the statement. I don't like that at all. All right. We'll get Tim in here when we come back. Tim will be there Saturday for a little X. Tim Leonard, a little 411 when we come back after this. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.